Hey folks, welcome back for another build video where we are rootin', tootin', and cowboy shootin'. That's right, this is a build centered around the 1886 rifle, known for its lever action and, more importantly for this game specifically, its high base weapon damage, and that is the primary reason why it is our primary weapon on this build. So for the keen-eyed among you, this build focuses on three things. It is obviously the 1886, the Determined talent, and of course the Chainkiller chest piece, which comes with the perfect headhunter talent. For those of you who are sticking around for the whole video, let's get into this one. For specialization, we've gone with the sharpshooter, primarily for the breath control talent, which increases your weapon stability, reduces your recoil, and allows you faster reacquisition of targets, and the one in the head talent, which gives you plus 15% increased headshot damage with rifles and marksman rifles. On top of that, the round after round talent, which generates marksman rifle and rifle ammo while you're in cover, is a nice bonus as well. As we already spoke about off the top, the 1886 is our primary weapon here. It's not one I use all that often, but on this build in particular, it absolutely shines. And that is in large part due to the base weapon damage stat that you can see there in white. For anyone who's used the headhunter talent before, you'll know that the talent's weapon damage cap is tied to your weapon's total damage. So getting a weapon with a particularly high base weapon damage gets you off on the right foot. On top of that, as you can see there, we've gone with headshot damage in the attribute slot. And of course we have the Determined talent. After killing an enemy with a headshot, the next shot landed on any enemy will be a guaranteed headshot. So as you'll see later in the video, all you need to do to really get this build up and running is to get one headshot kill on an enemy. And from there, using Chainkiller, you can build your weapon damage with headshots or just body shots. All of those, of course, with the Determined talent on this rifle, count as headshot kills, which in turn increases the total weapon damage provided to you by the Headhunter talent on the Chainkiller chest piece. For a secondary weapon, you could go a number of different routes. The Scorpio shotgun would be a good option if you're not going with an exotic pistol. But because we've stacked into headshot damage so much, and because we have the round after round talent provided by the sharpshooter specialization, I've decided to go with the White Death marksman rifle here, which sports a higher headshot damage attribute than normal marksman rifles. And then on top of that, we have damage to armor there in the third attribute slot. You could go with damage to target out of cover if you would rather, but I was working with what I had and I wanted to roll Determined here in the talent slot as well. So both our primary and secondary weapons have Determined on them, meaning if you do want to go even farther down range, the White Death with Determined will allow you to also stack Chainkiller shots the same way the 1886 does with Determined. For a sidearm, we've gone with the Regulus exotic pistol. I will make a specific note here. This pistol is only available through the Iron Horse raid, so if you don't have it, another great option would be the Liberty pistol, which is much easier to acquire over a series of open world tasks. But as you can see there, the total damage is slightly lower for the Liberty exotic pistol. So if you have it, I would recommend the Regulus to take full advantage of our holster down there. But if you don't, either one is perfectly serviceable, as you will largely be going to your sidearm to get you out of sticky situations where the holster's talent will give you more than enough damage for most situations. Since it's a headshot build, we have Punch Drunk here in our mask slot. Douglas and Harding gives us plus 20% pistol damage, helping our holster talent down out there. On top of that, we have the unique 20% headshot damage attribute, and we've gone with weapon handling in the second slot there. And then for our mod slot, we have headshot damage, again, a primary focus of this build. For a backpack, we have the Gift, which has the perfect version of Vigilance. As I always say when we put this piece on a build, the only increase over the normal version of Vigilance is that it decreases the disabled time from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. So if you don't have the Gift, don't worry about it. Just put a normal Providence Defense backpack on and make sure you roll Vigilance in the talent slot there. On top of that, we have weapon handling and headshot damage again in both the attribute slot and mod slot, as you can see there. For a chest piece, we have the aforementioned Chainkiller. One piece of Walker and Harris Co. gives us plus 5% weapon damage, which will be important as we scroll down a bit. As you can see there, we've gone with headshot damage, weapon handling, and headshot damage again in the mod slot. But more importantly, this chest piece has the perfect headhunter talent. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 150% of that killing blow's damage. And the important piece here, damage is capped to 800% of your weapon damage, but this is raised to 1250% damage if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. So on top of just increasing our headshot damage overall, the main reason we're building into headshot damage on this build is to get that cap up to 1250% of the 1886's damage, which as you can see in the following video is around 16 million, which is more than enough once you've stacked it to take down normal, hard, elite, and most named enemies, even on heroic difficulty. For gloves here, we have one piece of Contractor's Gloves. The brand bonus is doing nothing for us there, but the attribute gets us plus 8% damage to armor. And again, we've gone with headshot damage in that secondary attribute slot. For our holster, we have the Dodge City Gunslinger's holster. This is another project piece similar to the Liberty Exotic pistol. It comes with weapon damage, weapon handling, and headshot damage, which are all perfect for this build. And on top of that, it has the quick draw talent. While your pistol is holstered, gain a stacking buff every 0.3 seconds up to 100 stacks. When you swap to it, your first shot consumes the buff and deals plus 10% damage per stack, so that's up to 1000% damage. And it deals headshot damage anywhere you hit. The only requirement is that you have a pistol equipped. So as I said before, the main reason for having this holster on is that this build relies on stacking headshots to then take down harder and tougher enemies in succession. The one thing that breaks that chain is either not killing an enemy with a shot, or tangentially to that, any enemy that's wearing a helmet within the game. Think Hyena Rushers or the Riker Heavies. Instead of killing an enemy when you hit them with a fully stacked Chainkiller shot, what you'll see is that the helmet explodes and leaves their head exposed, which is what this holster and pistol combo is really great for. Once you've broken that helmet, meaning their head is exposed, but unfortunately your Chainkiller stack has been reset, what you can do is quickly swap to your pistol, aim at them, and then fire away using all 100 stacks of quick draw, dealing an additional 1000% damage of either the Regulus or the Liberty Exotic pistol. Either one should be more than enough damage for almost any enemy in the game on up to heroic difficulty, and that will allow you to clear the field of any dangerous enemies and then go back to stacking Chainkiller and Determined on your 1886. And then last but not least, we have Fox's Prayer, a very standard piece on any weapon damage build, but for once, the Overlord Armament's plus 10% rifle damage is not being wasted. In fact, it increases our overall damage of the 1886, in turn increasing the maximum cap of Chainkiller. And then on top of that, we have the weapon damage core, damage to target out of cover, and again, we've gone with headshot damage in that secondary attribute slot. And then here we have our skills. Personally, I've gone with the Reviver Hive and the Shock Trap skill. The Reviver Hive is equipped here because we are rather squishy on this build, and it really stinks to go down and not be able to come back up. The Shock Trap I put on a number of stationary builds. It's a good way to provide yourself a buffer against rushing enemies, which can really spoil this build, especially the Hyena Rushers we just talked about with their helmets, which ruin the Chainkiller stacks. So what I find the Shock Trap can do is give you a little bit of extra time to use Chainkiller to clear the field before you have to break the Hyena's helmet, wasting your stack, but then allowing you to take them down and get ready for the next wave of enemies or move on to the next area. But ultimately, these skills are a very preferential choice on this build. Either one is a direct benefit, so if you'd rather go with a different set of skills, feel free to, and actually let me know in the comments which skills you go with. I'm very curious what you guys think both of this build and what skills you would pair with it. Other than that, if you've always wanted to snipe but you play on console, this is a great build to try out. It allows you a lot more leniency with your shots because, again, as we said, once you get that first headshot kill, unless you're going against specific enemies that we mentioned before that will break the chain of Chainkiller and Determined, all you have to do is get a kill, whether it be a headshot, a body shot, or anywhere in between. They'll all count and look really cool coming out of cover, snapping to a target, and taking them down. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And tell your friends about the channel so you can continue to help us grow and make weird stuff like this. Please enjoy the following gameplay, and we will see you in the next one.
detected.
We made it!
Friendly control point detected.
Our enemies want you to stop living life and build the city they want. But the hyenas, we tore up the rule book long ago. If you want freedom, go inside. This is a warning to the division. Back the hell up before you get yourself killed. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
Ski detected. Progress halted. Manual override required. Hostiles guarding location nearby.